We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
In a case of political Murphy's Law on the border, it seems that everything that could go wrong has gone wrong. Not just this latest debacle with thousands of Haitians, not merely the more than 1.5 million illegal migrant encounters this year alone. Cages, child abuse, trafficking, rape. It has become one of the most dangerous places in the country, and yet no plan exists to fix it. People are beginning to ask, is border security a thing of the past? And are these constant problems just a circuitous route to open borders? Well, helping us answer these questions is Liberty Nation treasurer, national columnist, Miss Sarah Calgill. Welcome aboard, Sarah.
Well, it's good to be here, Mark. What's going on today?
Well, I have questions to ask and questions aplenty. So the first one is, all of these problems and no solutions. Is this really just open borders by the back door, or am I being paranoid?
You might be paranoid, but you might be right. I mean, being paranoid just means you're worried about something. So I would say that whether it's their intent or not, we have a porous, open border along at least 3 of our states right now. Is it intentional? To some degree, some of it would be intentional, but they can't handle the load. They know they can't handle the load. And this administration is backpedaling and trying to please progressives on one side, please Americans on the southern border on the other side, and somehow handle it. They've made a complete mess of this whole mess. I mean, they took what was almost under control and have just screwed it up to the point where good luck. You've irritated and alienated your own border patrol. You have told we're not going to finish the wall. That was the latest thing. Not going to finish the wall. We're not going to plug the holes. That's what Border Patrol has been doing, plugging holes in the wall after shift. You've got people, taking Haitians who really probably deserve a bit of a relief and maybe some refugee status, and cattle carring them into planes and shipping them back home. But then you still got thousands of people heading this direction and thousands of people sitting there, others just going through the holes. So this is a complete debacle.
Well, it seems that back in July, President Biden put together a plan. It was a 21-point plan for border control. Is this what following the plan looks like for the Biden administration?
The plan was 21 bullet points that said, create, a group to look into this, create this. It was all about creating task force and reusing different resources, like pulling people off the border and finding other ways, to protect the border. And it's really, if you go back and look at it today, it's basically a blueprint of what not to do. It's exactly what they haven't done.
It certainly seems to smack of naivety looking back on what they really have failed to do here. And it just seems to be getting worse. I mean, at the moment, you've got a number of Border Patrol agents who are facing permanent suspension, unpaid suspension, because perhaps they don't want to or can't take the COVID vaccine as required by Joe Biden's mandate. So we're actually in the process of, along with hospitals in New York State, cutting back on the very people that are needed. What's going on with this?
You're looking at a group of people who have put their lives on the line for years and years and years in law enforcement. That's a tough job to have. If you look at the numbers, it's about 200 to 300 people trying to cross the border for each Border Patrol agent. That's a horrible, horrible upside down number. So number one, they're overworked. They're underpaid. They're extremely underappreciated by this administration, who has promised to make them pay for the bad optics of one photograph. And basically the agents are saying this administration has declared war on us. And so they're stepping up. They're mad. And this isn't going to help things if they all just say, well, we got the green flu, we're leaving. And, the more that this administration tries to put their campaign promises into play to please a handful of progressives and a whole bunch of, Democrats that have made this their issue. When President Trump was in office, it was all about kids in cages. It was all about these horrible things that were going on. Multiply that by about 300, and that's what you've got going on now. It's beyond ridiculous, and I'm not sure they can rein. I don't think they can rein any of this in. I think it's just going to overrun. And you've got Greg Abbott, the Governor Greg Abbott in Texas, who's saying, "Look, if those agents get fired, state of Texas will pick it up, and they will be back on the border, and we will secure our border." So,
why isn't this the biggest news story of the year? The complete collapse of the southern border. And yet it doesn't even get a mention on the front page.
Because it's worse than it was in 2020. It's so much worse. And everybody campaigned on getting Trump out of office by how mean he was. You can't go back. You went from kids in cages in the Obama eras, who built the cages and put the kids in cages. Trump just kept putting kids in cages. And then you have them put in shipping containers. So really, what's the difference between a kid in a cage and a kid in a shipping container? And so you've got those optics. They can't report on that because that's worse than what it was. They can't report on the conditions at the border now because it's worse than what it was. It was supposed to get so much better. It was supposed to be the humanitarian relief that everybody was looking for. Oh, let them all in. Let's vet them fast. Let's get them in and out. It's so screwed up down there. They can't report it. If they report it, they all look like they were complicit.
Sarah,
so they have to just ignore it.
Are you suggesting that the fourth estate would purposely ignore stories just to protect their reputation?
I'm suggesting that. I'm not suggesting that. I'm telling you that's what's going on.
I thought that's what it was.
Not really a suggestion so much as a declaration of what the heck, guys. Come on, report the news.
It seems to me that perhaps neither side really wants to fix the immigration system completely. Since I was a wee young whippersnapper, I've heard politicians on both sides of the Atlantic talk about fixing our broken systems, because this is not just a problem in the United States. We have a similar issue in the UK with dinghy migrants or boat migrants, up to 1,000 a day just landing on shores coming from France. Recent reports suggest that DACA is making a comeback. Now, we also know that Joe Biden wants a form of amnesty or green cards, upwards of 8 million individuals, I believe. And there's obviously, as you mentioned, there's a sign above the southern border saying open to all, come one, come all. Now, there's an old saying, Sarah, and I'm sure you've heard it: a country without borders is no country at all. And it makes me wonder, when is enough immigration enough? How many people does the administration think that America can comfortably sustain and want to take in on a yearly basis or over a 10-year period?
Well, I think this administration, if they can let as many people in as they can, as long as they are Central and Southern Americans versus Haitians or Cubans, they will get them in, give them a card, and let them vote. That's their goal. But they know that you can't sustain this amount of people coming through. You can't have 200,000 people coming through a month, and that's just the ones we know about. So they know it's not sustainable. They're trying behind the scenes to come up with a way to get people to stop coming there, and they're trying to figure out how to vet as many people as possible. Now, the other thing is with DACA, if you will remember, Trump was trying to grant amnesty to a good chunk of the DACA people, and the Democrats blocked it. So now they're going to give amnesty to everybody. We could have been doing this every year, a little chunk, bring them in, get them settled, bring them in, get them settled, instead of let them run loose. Holy moly goodness, we've got 8 million people trying to get in here. So I think if we had just taken on a more of a legitimate approach, they could just, feather them in, so to speak. And instead, it's just, this country can't handle just all of a sudden a whole bunch of people on welfare. It just can't. We are so broke right now. It's ridiculous.
Sarah Cowgill, thank you ever so much.
Thank you, Mark.
Right after this short break, we'll be talking liberty with Scott Cosenza. Why can't the Supreme Court catch a break? And what are the big cases on the docket? Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with Liberty Nation here on the Radio America Network. We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides. Who are we? We are Americans that believe in liberty. We are a project of the nonprofit One Generation Away. We are patriots who apply the founding principles to the issues of today.
And they keep moving the goalposts on us.
We are educators and commentators who love America and the Constitution. Who are we? We are Liberty Nation.